Inuyasha, being a show filled to the dog ears with demons, has a ton of really cool yokai inspiration. And since I moved to Japan this year, I've had a lot of opportunities to read about and learn about different yokai. So welcome to a new series where instead of my normal 20-minute video, I take about 3 or 4 to talk about different yokai in Inuyasha, as well as their real-world mythological basis. Think of these as bite-sized axle beats, but as we are talking about yokai, some of them might get a little bit disturbing at times. As this is the first episode, I figured it's only fitting to talk about the yokai that is reflected in both Inuyasha and Sesshomaru, as well as their father, Inu no Taisho. With all of that out of the way, if you like this series, talking about yokai which come up in anime, let me know by clicking on the thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. But for now, let's talk about the Inugami. Inugami, which literally translates to dog god or dog spirit, is a yokai which is a spiritual possession by the spirit of a dog. Typically talked about in Western Japan in areas without foxes, and thus a lower role of kitsune, an Inugami would be created by a pretty dark ritual called a kojutsu. This was more or less banned out by the Heian period in Japan, and honestly, I totally understand why. The rituals could be pretty brutal and very dark. I'll post a timestamp on screen now so you know where to skip if you don't want to hear about animal abuse. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1... last chance. So traditionally, from what I've read, there are a few different kojutsu involving the Inugami. The most common one I found involves decapitating a starving dog, burying its head at a crossroads so that it can be walked over by humans until the spirit holds such a grudge that the spirit becomes a curse, which can be turned into an Inugami, sometimes with the help of a Miko or priestess. You might think that's pretty brutal, but let me tell you, there's actually about a dozen ways that I've read to create Inugami, and this might be the most humane. It's a pretty terrifying ritual no matter which method was used, and like I said, it, along with many of the more abusive rituals towards animals, were all banned out in the Heian period about 1000 to 1200 years ago for a reason. Regardless of how they were created, Inugami were extremely loyal to their masters, specifically to one person or one family, and it would remain faithful forever unless they were mistreated. In most cases, Inugami were used to bring prosperity or wealth to a family, or even to curse an opposing family. However, an Inugami who was mistreated would often turn on their master and could ruin the family or even lead to their deaths. And in the event that a master died, an Inugami could be passed down his family line like an heirloom, which could be for better or for worse. While many of the darker elements of Inugami were removed from the story of Inuyasha, and thank God for that, the idea of an Inugami being linked to one human for eternity and being willing to do anything for that person is definitely still there. When we look at Inu no Taisho, he literally died protecting Izayoi, who was the woman that he loved and Inuyasha's mother. Sesshomaru is a cold-hearted bastard who is disgusted by humans, but he links with Rin and at one point even dives into the underworld to save her. And finally, Inuyasha is in love with Kikyo, and when he's released from his seal, carries on that connection with Kagome, showing both the loyalty and inheritance that Inugami are known for. When Kikyo is revived, it takes Inuyasha the entire show to decide who he wants to be with, as Inugami are eternally loyal, and he has to choose between two humans despite being supposed to be protecting both of them. While the relationship might be more of a boyfriend and girlfriend situation, that's only because there's a romantic element involved. At its core, Inuyasha sees both Kikyo and Kagome in the same way that Sesshomaru sees Rin. He is devoted to them entirely and would do anything to keep them safe. Even if he might love one of them more than the other, as an Inugami he still has to protect both of them. Something which is kind of impossible in this story. And there you have it, a quick look at the Inugami as well as how it's tied into the story of Inuyasha. Like I said, this is a little bit different, it's a little bit faster than my normal video, but despite the darker bit in the middle, it's kind of a fun series idea, I think. If you agree and want to learn more about different yokai in Inuyasha or even other anime, let me know in the comments down below. But until next time, remember to stay excellent.